Hi and welcome once again. My name is Ken Cerny and I'm with Christ Evangelical Lutheran Church in Merrill, Wisconsin. I'd like to share with you a little bit today about a camera that we have just acquired that will allow us to live stream with the two cameras that we're already using, PTZ cameras, and this one also. We're planning on putting this one in the back of the church where it can zoom in a little bit farther. It's got a little bit better zoom than what we have now. But more importantly, it can kind of show the whole church when we want to share with people, share the whole church with those who can't make it here themselves. So this particular camera is a PTZ camera. It's not the same brand that what we have, but it's extremely nice camera. It's a FoMaKo KN20. It's a PTZ camera. Has tracking, AI tracking, and then it has several things on the back that allow us to connect with it. So starting on this side over here is it got the reset button, or the reset. Right next to that is the HDMI output. Next to that is the SDI output. We then have a line in for audio, so line in for audio. And we're going to show you everything here, or most everything on the back here. It has the ability to control it either with a 485, I think it is, or a 232 control. So that allows you to control the camera remotely. In between those is a USB-C output. Then we have the network output there, followed by a power in and an on-off switch. So that's the back of the camera. So if you've noticed that, so we have basically several ways to send video to where we want to do. We can send video by HDMI, by SDI. We can send video through the network, and or USB-C. So we can do this several different ways, and I'm going to show you most of those ways today, but it's really a nice camera. If you want to get started with this kind of stuff, you can get started simply by using the camera, the remote, and a laptop. That's all you need to get started. The nice thing about this, as you increase your capabilities within your church, you add different technology. You might add a controller with this so you can control it remotely, where you don't have to use the remote anymore. This will expand with your system, and that's the really cool thing about it. So as you get started, I'm gonna put this up on this tripod behind me because that's the easiest way to show the church. But once we get started doing this, I'm going to show you several different ways to connect with this one at a time, starting with the basic USB-C into a laptop, use it as a webcam, and you can expand from there. Works really well. So let me get back to you, and let me set this up here. USB-C, and I need a power cable. Now this does have power over Ethernet plus. So I've got that plugged in. I have the USB cable attached. That USB cable is coming over to this laptop. So let me turn it on. Hey, if you like what you see so far, please subscribe and hit that like button so we can get this content out to more and more people. Bring this up. All right. There we have movement. So when you turn it on, the first thing you're going to see is there is a display on the front. And that display generally will come up 192.168.100-88, and that's what it is. And so that's the standard IP address for this during its shipping to you. So it'll come in there like that. I'll bring that around. Right now all I have is the USB and the power plugged in and it turned on. So get that turned around, and I'm going to bring that into a laptop using the camera app so I can see it. Alright, so let me switch. I'm going to switch one more time. There we go. So there is my view from that camera, and I can use on my camera app on my laptop. Now the reason I bring it up on the camera app is that's just demonstrating that that is simply coming into you as a webcam, and I'm using the remote control to direct it. So since I'm so close, I can actually get it's actually picking up the remote control IR really well. The IR pickup on the camera is actually the front of the camera. So I'm sideways to it. You'll have to play with that depending on where you have your camera sitting. But because I'm this close, it's picking it up without any problem. So there is my view from the camera through the USB into the laptop without anything other than calling it another webcam. So it's just looking at this as a webcam. I can do it on my camera app. I can use VMix or OBS and bring it as a webcam. And that works really well too. And then you can, from there, live stream that to YouTube, Facebook, or whoever you want to live stream to through VMix or through OBS. They're both live streaming software, and all you need to have to get online is those three things: a camera, a laptop, and the software to control it and do what you want to do with it. From there, you just simply use your remote control to control where you want it to point to. Now, if you want to expand from there and you want to use a PTZ controller, you're going to need some form of other way to connect to it in order for it to control that camera. The PTZ controller that I'm using also controls the other two cameras, and what I need to do is find a way to connect it. Now you can connect it through RS-232, which is serial port. You can connect it to the 485, which is wires, and it comes with those connections to your laptop so that you can do that. I'm not going to connect it that way. I don't want those kind of wires out there. I have a network within the church that I can use to connect my controller and my camera so that I can control where that camera is located. But I have to tell the controller where the camera is. That camera needs to be on the same internal network as the controller in order for that to work. So I'm going to set up the camera. So the first thing I got to do is plug in my network cable. So let's plug that in. There we go. We just plugged in the network cable on the back. And now, again, using my remote, I'm going to hit the menu button. All right, the menu button, and this is the easiest way to do this. You can also look for it, but it's pretty much impossible to find if you're not on the same network, which it's not. If you remember, it was 168.192 or 192.168.100.88. So I'm going to come down here to communication setup, and I'm going to come down here, and if you look down here where it says IP address, it says 192.168.100.88, and that is the IP address that it's going to come with from the factory. Well, I'm going to come down here to, I need to get this onto my network, so I'm going to come down here to DHCP. Right now it's going to be on. I'm going to turn it off, and then I'm going to turn it back on, and it should find, there it is. So when I turned it off, then back on, it found an IP address. For some reason it's off again. There it is. So it's going to find that IP address that someplace on my in my network. All right. So what I can do now is, working with this, I can now go into my network, and I can change that IP address, or I can leave it up DHCP. So I'm going to try it with just leaving it up DHCP for now. Actually, I'm going to change the IP address. So what I'm going to do at this point is go into web browser. We can get rid of all these. All right. I'm going to my web browser, 192.168.1.124, and I got that off of that menu. I'm going to go into that, and it brings up a sign-in. The standard sign-in is admin, and I recommend you change the password once you get in there. And it's going to show a live view of the camera itself right from the start. And you can come down here to network. And if you want to keep the dynamic address, you can do that. I'm going to change it to fixed IP address. And because of the way I have this already set up, I'm going to change, there we go. I'm going to change this to 164. So if you do change this, make sure that your submask is set up, your gateway is set up, your DNS address is set up, and data updated successfully. I can get out of here and come back in. .192, and you can see there's 124, but I'm going to change that to 164, and there it is. So it's in there as 1.164. So I know that. So I'm going to close that, and that's really all you need to do for that particular step. But you need to get it onto your network. So you have to change that 100.88 in order to do that. And then I can set that up on here. So let me bring my camcorder over here. And so now I want to get that onto my PTZ controller. So here's my PTZ controller here. This is a new FoMaKo. This is the KC606N. I'm going to talk about why I'm using this now instead of my other one. So this is my original controller. It basically, you're going to do the exact same thing. So if you have the FoMaKo version of this, or if you have another PTZ camera controller, you should be able to use it to control this camera. And they recommend using Visca over IP, which is something I can show you how I do that. So once you get the camera up, and I've already got the other two cameras in here, I want to add in this camera, and I'm going to use it as Visca over IP. Now there's another way to do that, and that's through NDI. I'm going to talk about that in a moment. But I'm going to come in here, check my network, and you can see here it has a DHCP on here, which doesn't really matter that much because I don't have to find this I don't have to find this. I'm going to go back, and I'm going to go up to, I'm going to go back to there, and I'm going to search. So now I'm searching for any new cameras I have on here. So I've already got a couple in here. I'm going to search for a new camera, and you can see here there's a new camera there, Visca over IP, and that's just the way I want to be able to use this. So I'm going to select that, change that to camera 3, and select that, Cam 3. Okay, and new device saved. All right, so now if I come back to my camera, I can use camera 3, stop the search. There you go. Set up cam 3, select, and now I can use my joystick to control the camera, or I can set up presets for the camera. You can do this all with the remote also. You can set up the you can set up presets on the remote. I'm going to set up a couple of presets on my joystick controller here, my PTZ controller, and I'm going to do that because it's easier, but the same things can be done on your remote simply because all the presets are saved inside the camera. So the memory in the camera is where your presets are saved. So I'm up camera 3, I'm going to set preset 1 is going to be the pastor's pastor talking right there. Preset 3, I'm going to put 3 here. I try to set up the same preset for all the cameras. So this is going to be preset 3. And then zooming out is going to be preset 2. All right, so now I can call any of these 3 locations. Just like that. And you can see how nicely the camera moves in doing that. It's not a real, I've had cameras that are a little bit twitchier, if you will. This is a pretty smooth camera. I really like it for that purpose. And when you set it up as presets, it's something that you can do off camera. So I'm going to bring this all the way back around to where I'm at and set that up as preset 5, I believe. I'll just do the preset 5 and zoom out a little bit. There we go. That way I can come back to this anytime I want. So we'll set this up as set 5. So now when I call, I can go from here all the way back to here. And you can see the zoom, the movement, all of that is smooth. It's very quick with this camera. This has a little bit faster pan and tilt than some of the other cameras that I've tried. So in order to do that, I have to set that up, Visca over IP, and I can do that. And again, this controller is exactly the same. So it's going to set up a little bit differently because the buttons are in different places, but it's going to do the exact same thing, Visca over IP, and it will allow you to control the camera without having to use the remote control. It's great. So that's the next step. Webcam, you can use it that way. You can control it this way. Now what we can do, and you can see even on my webcam, which is right there, it's still going through, and what we're doing right now, this is still the webcam. So I'm controlling it, and this is a webcam. So if you have a conference room, this would work in a conference room without any problem. You can plug in, you can plug in a webcam, and you can do a Zoom call. You can do meetings. You can do Google Meets. You can do whatever, wherever you're going to use your webcam. This is a great way to do it with a little bit of control, and this will go for you. Now the next step is I can put this in through HDMI. So since I have a ATEM Mini Extreme down here, or an ATEM Mini, or a OC Go Stream Deck, or any of the new video switchers that have HDMI in, I can do this with an HDMI input. So let me attach an HDMI cable to this. Find the right cable here. There it is. All right, attaching an HDMI cable in. And now I'm up HDMI. So now this will actually come into my video switcher via HDMI. I'm still controlling it using the controls for the PTZ controller. I have 1080p now instead of the 720p for my maximum on my camera there. So there's sometimes a limit what you can do with that. This will come in here. I can use this. I can then record it like I'm doing for doing this talk here, and it works really well into the system. So now I can have coming into here. I can have that camera. I can have this camera. I can have this camera, or I can switch it back to the new camera, the KN20. So all of them work together and will work together, and you can switch them back and forth. That's some of the benefits of having PTZ cameras. And I tell you what, like I said, I am really impressed with how smooth this is when you're doing the remote, and the speed that you can have with it also. Now you can control the speed of your remotes. Let's call back to here. You can control the speed of that PTZ right here at the bottom. I take it back. Not so much on this one. What this one does is, so you can zoom in, you can zoom out, you can go slow, you can go fast. All right. So there's different ways you can do that. But then if you want to adjust the PTZ speed, you can go into the menu again without having to bring it up on your computer, and there's where you can adjust your speeds. So you can adjust your speeds, you can adjust your autofocus, you can adjust your a number of different things, all right there, all in control. If you do have a PTZ controller like this one, you can also do all that right here on the PTZ controller. So my speeds I can adjust right here. My zoom speeds I can adjust right there. And so now, as I get out of the menu, notice it's a little bit faster because I made it just a little bit faster on the controller. So you can control it either with the controller or you can do it with the menu. Either way, you can control the speeds of that camera, which can be important until you get the presets. So I use a lot of presets so that I don't have to try to get to where I need to go without it looking like I'm lost. So presets are great. So USB, HDMI into an HDMI switcher, USB into a webcam, which can then be used for live streaming through VMix or OBS or some other software. Now we got two ways to connect. The third way to connect is through is direct from the camera over IP, and I'm not going to do that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use NDI. Now NDI is what was what caught my eye the most about this particular camera, because where I'm going to put this is back behind the corner here, around the corner and against the wall. I can't get my remote to show any connection at all with there from where I'm sitting here. I just can't. This remote won't go around the corner like it does right here in front of me. One of the things that I wanted to be able to do back there is also that it's up on a wall that doesn't have any connections for a camera already in place. So I need to install the camera. I need to install the camera on a wall mount, which it comes with. So it came with this wall mount, which is great. My other cameras did not come with wall mounts. I had to buy those separately. But this comes with a wall mount, allows me to hook it on the wall back there. And since I don't have any way of getting wires to there, so running a single wire. So that Ethernet cable that's attached will be able to, has power over Ethernet, so I can power the camera through there. It has NDI, which allows me to bring video through that cable, and it connects with this by NDI also, which allows you to control it by that simple cable. So I can control, get video, and power it all through a single cable that comes through the wall, minimizing what's back there where people can see it as they're leaving the church. So that was really exciting to do. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to switch over to a different laptop that has VMix on it. Bring up my VMix software. Takes a moment, I guess. There it is. Let me switch over. All right. So here's VMix. VMix already has NDI capability built into it. If you go with OBS, then you're going to have put it, have another add-on, but you can do it with OBS also. But it's really simple. I'm going to add an input. I can select NDI or desktop capture. And we should get a view on here in a moment. Nope, it's not coming up the right. All right, let me check here real quick. For some reason, that's got 100.88, so let me close that. NDI. Let's bring it up like that. Now I could probably come in there with that. But why is that, since I know I switched it? 1992.168. 192.168.1.164. So I should be, okay, there's that. Admin. Okay, so there it is. Let me look real quick at the front of the camera. And it is showing 1.164. All right. So let's go back to VMix. Add NDI. Let's try this. Okay, it wants to come in on 100.88. I'm new to NDI, so this is kind of a new problem for me. I'm assuming that is just simply telling me that NDI is, it's going to be using that IP address. I don't know for sure, but here is now NDI coming in through VMix, which then allows you to use this as a live stream out if you don't have any other way of doing it. So as you're going through this and you're doing live stream, you can just go directly into your laptop. You don't need a mixer of any sort. All you need is the camera, and then the controller then works also through there. So on the controller, I can also set it up so it's seen it as NDI also. So there is a, when you go in and you do a search on here, you can set this up so that it is NDI instead of VSCA over IP. You can set it up so that it's NDI, and it will do the same thing. And again, I'm not an expert on NDI at all. This is new. This is why I got this camera, and so I'm learning as I go. I will probably know more tomorrow than I do today. And that's the way it works for me. But I want to get this out so that I can help people getting into it. So here I have NDI. We started out with using USB-C. We then went to HDMI, USB-C webcam, and webcam into VMix, or webcam into Zoom, or whatever other kind of software you want to do to talk to somebody out there. You can do VMix or OBS, all of that through the webcam. You can also do all of that through NDI. Now I can probably bring this up also as a camera in on, no, I don't have it connected to here by USB. So that's on my other laptop. So the SDI would come in very similar to the way the HDMI is. Now the difference with SDI is either you have to have the ATEM Mini Extreme with SDI ports, or another switcher with SDI ports, and then you can go directly off of here directly into the switcher. Now my problem with NDI right now is I don't have an NDI compatible switcher, which means I have to then have a NDI to HDMI decoder. So there is another piece of equipment that I can easily get and go NDI. Once I get it put back there, and I'm going to want this single line, I'm going to want to come out with NDI. So then, if I want to maintain what I have here for the switcher, I can just get a NDI decoder, which would be a lot cheaper than buying a new switcher. And when I work with a lot of this stuff, I'm really looking at making sure people that don't have a lot of technology knowledge don't have to, and still be able to operate the equipment easily enough. This is the easiest thing for them to control. And then ATEM Mini Extreme, where they're just pushing a couple of buttons. That's the easiest thing I can do for them. So I'll probably be getting that decoder in the future here so that I can bring the NDI video to my ATEM Mini Extreme. The other thing about the NDI, the license is built into the camera. So if you in the past have had to purchase licenses to go with the equipment that you have, it's now built in there. It's automatic. I didn't realize that until I asked, and it's also built into the controller so that it can select NDI there also. When I get the decoder, I need to make sure that that's got it in there also. So older equipment, you may have to purchase a license. Newer equipment, it's already built in and it has a license in it, and you can go from there. So the next thing I want to show you, besides all of these ways to connect, is how the auto tracking works. That was the other thing that I really liked about it. One of my thoughts is the auto tracking is going to be, this camera is going to be in the back of the church. I'm going to set it up so that it picks up Pastor as soon as he walks up onto the front of the church, up by the altar, and it will track him throughout the entire service. And while he's doing one thing or another, I can easily switch to that. And especially if he moves from where I normally see him. So if he moves out of an area where I have a preset, this camera will be tracking him, and I can immediately hit the camera and go directly to him. So that's one of the benefits of having the auto tracking. So I'm going to do a couple of things here. I'm going to disappear for a moment, set myself up in front of the camera, and I will be right back and talk to you about auto tracking and audio input through the camera. Those are the two things I'm going to still talk about. We'll see you in just a moment. Okay, this is going to be an auto track test, but I'm going to do a couple other things at the same time. And you can see with these big lights right above me, I kind of get washed out, and everything behind me is kind of washed out also. So I'm just going to adjust that. And right now you can see the exposure when I bring up the menu. That exposure is automatic, or auto. So I'm going to go into the exposure. There's auto. There's a couple different types of priorities that they have here set up. This is brightness priority and manual. And I kind of like this one. It's a little bit darker, and it kind of gets rid of all this up above. That's still there. It's still causing some issues since I'm right underneath it, but I think that's the best lighting for me right now with minimum effort. Anyways, tracking, right now it's on presenter track. You can see it's set up all across here. And one of the things that we do, I can set this up ahead of time because at the beginning of the service, when the bells ring, pass-through comes out of the door here where he got himself ready, and then he starts the service. And so that's where our recording basically starts with him there. So when I set this up, what I'm going to do, let me make sure I get close enough here, turn off the auto track. Okay, I'm going to set this up, and I would be basically zoomed in and ready to go when he comes out of that door. So as I come out of the door here, see if my remote will turn this on. And hopefully that's on. So as I come out of the door, sure enough, it picks up past and the day can start and the recording starts and everything starts out all right. So that's kind of how I use that so that it doesn't get focused, so basically it focuses on up there, and when he comes out, it automatically picks him up and I don't have to do anything else while I'm continuing to do controlling the rest of the audio booth. The last thing I want to talk about, and by the way, when you stop this, once you stop it and you leave the frame, it stays put where you left it. If you restart it, it's going to stay there and wait for you to come back. So as soon as you're back in the screen, it's going to pick you up and it's going to continue on. So it's really kind of nice. And while it's trying to keep up with what's going on and keep that person centered, there may be a little bit of jerkiness, but this one's actually pretty smooth compared to others that I've seen with auto tracking. Lastly, I want to talk about the outputs from the camera and what we can do with them. Now, right now, I'm looking at my laptop through the USB output on the camera into my laptop. My camera view is up so that I can see what I'm doing. Otherwise, all my monitors are facing the other direction. So I wanted to see what I was doing so I could talk to you about where things were going. So that's one out. I have HDMI out, which then goes into the ATEM Mini Extreme and gets recorded in that way. The audio is coming through this microphone, this headset microphone. This is a Shure BLX microphone system, wireless microphone system that goes through our audio panel and into the ATEM Mini Extreme. But we have one more output on our camera, which is for audio. It's an input place, which then sends the output through the HDMI, and I can pick that up. So I have the small Movo lavalier mic. Let me turn that on, see if I can get a connection, and there, I got a connection there. So I'm going to turn this one off. And now you have me talking on a completely different microphone that goes into the line in on the camera and then goes HDMI out to the ATEM Extreme where I can use the audio, again, to record what I'm doing here. So it's a pretty slick little thing, even though these are kind of old already. We bought these in 2020 when we were just doing a camcorder recording and then uploading it to our YouTube channel. We're now live streaming, obviously, with a whole completely different system, but we haven't been using these for a while. I thought I'd give it a try and see if it works this way, and it certainly does. So it just allows somebody else or some other way to get the audio in to your recording that's already got the video going there too. So with that said, I hope all of this helps you understand a little bit more about the capabilities of the KN20. Hey, if you like what you see so far, please subscribe and hit that like button so we can get this content out to more and more people.